Assalamu alaikum. So the paper that we're going to do today is October-November 2022. The paper variant is 1-1. Right. Okay, so the first question is, the diagram shows cells from a plant leaf. Which structure contains the highest concentration of magnesium? This is a pretty straightforward question. We know that the palisade cells have the highest concentration of magnesium, so the answer accordingly would be B. The next is, what are the functions of the xylem vessels? Okay, so from our basic knowledge, we know that we have two types of plant tissue. We have the xylem and we have the phloem, and both of these have different functions. Xylem is dead tissue. It transports water and it gives it is the supporting structure of the plant. It gives the strength and the rigidity to the plant. However, phloem is the structure that carries sugar to and fro in the plant, right? So we know the basic functions of both of these plant tissues. Now let's have a look at the question. Xylem vessel, it strengthens, xylem vessel, it's strengthening the roots in the stem. Yes, of course it does that. So these two cannot be the answer, so we're going to cut out C and D. We're not going to look at those later, right? Supporting the leaf shape. Yes, of course, xylem does do that. So this is correct and this is correct. And transporting sugars, no, xylem does not do that, right? So the answer would be B. Okay, now the diagram shows a typical plant cell which has been in a concentrated salt solution for 10 minutes, right? Which numbered structures are partially permeable. Now, since they've already told us that this is a plant cell, so the outermost structure would not be a cell membrane. It would be the cell wall, right? Then the inner membrane is going to be the cell membrane. Now, this one is the cell membrane. So 2 would be the cell membrane. And the third thing that is labeled, that is the cytoplasm. Now, cytoplasm has nothing to do with the exchange of products, right? So cytoplasm is not permeable or partially permeable, fully permeable. So that is not included in the story. So wherever they've written 3, we're going to cut that option out. They've written it at one place. Okay. Now let's look at cell wall and cell membrane. Now, out of these two, we know that the cell wall is dead. So it allows anything to pass through. So it is fully permeable, right? And the cell wall is the only one which is partially permeable. So the answer would be 2. So the answer would be 2 only. So this would be the answer, right? Now, if you're wondering, why is this the cell membrane, this one? Now, whenever we put a plant cell within the hypertonic solution, what happens is this, that since there's less water outside and there's higher water content within the cell, so the water is going to move from the area of higher concentration to the area of a lower concentration. So it is going to move out of the plant cell, right? So when it moves out of the plant cell, since the cell wall is a rigid structure and it does not shrink, so this would maintain the shape. However, the cytoplasm is going to shrink in, which is happening over here. And as a result, the cell membrane is going to change its shape as well, right? Because the cell membrane cannot maintain its shape as a cell wall can. So that is how we know that the structure that is surrounding the cytoplasm, that is the cell membrane. Okay, so yeah. Next we have which row applies to the active transport. Movement that occurs from area of higher concentration to a region of the lower concentration. No, this is what a natural phenomena is of diffusion and osmosis. So this would not be the answer. So C and D can be correct. This is correct, this is correct. Just a minute. Yes, so C and D can be correct. Next, it is the movement that occurs from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration. Yes, this is what active transport is. So both of these are still correct. Now, this is the example of ion uptake in the roots. Yes, it is an example of ion uptake in the roots. Is it an example of water uptake from the roots? No, that occurs via diffusion or osmosis, preferably osmosis. That is the particular word. So no, it is not the example. So hence the answer would be C. Which statements are correct? Enzymes are proteins that function as a catalyst. Yes, of course. Enzymes are changed by the reaction they catalyze. No, that is the basic thing about an enzyme, that once it catalyzes a reaction, it remains unchanged in the end. The lock and key hypothesis explains the way that the enzymes function. Yes, it does. So the correct answers would be 1 and 3. So the answer would be C. The diagram shows the effect of temperature on the rate of enzyme control reaction. What is the explanation for the part that is labeled X? This part. Now, if we understand, on the x-axis we have temperature, on the y-axis we have the rate of reaction. The rate of reaction is increasing as the temperature is increasing. This is the optimum temperature where there is maximum rate of reaction. And here forward, since the temperature is increasing, what is happening? The enzyme is getting denatured. And since the enzyme is getting denatured, so its activity is decreasing. It is not able to catalyze the reaction, right? So the rate of reaction hence is decreasing. This is what is happening. So the temperature is dropping. What is the explanation for the graph labeled X? Now, why is there a drop in the rate of reaction? Is the temperature dropping? No, it is not dropping. The substrate is starting to run out. We do not know about that, so we cannot comment on that. This graph does not represent anything regarding the concentration of the substrate. The enzyme is becoming denatured. Yes, this can be one point. The enzyme is starting to run out. The enzyme does not necessarily run out because it remains unchanged in the end. So D cannot be the answer. So the answer is C. Next, a small mountain lake has aquatic plants growing under the water on the lake bed. Shortly after heavy rainfall, the mud on the lake bed becomes stirred up and the water level rises. Why does this cause the rate of photosynthesis of these plants to fall? Now, the example for this that I'm going to give is a coffee mug, right? If we put coffee into a container, into a cup, and then we add water in it and we do not stir it up, what would happen? That this layer of coffee would be dark in color, the natural coffee color. And since nothing has been stirred up, so the water that we've added, that is going to be clear. However, if I put in a spoon and I stir it up, then what will happen? That all of this is going to get stirred up, like this is getting stirred up, right? And eventually the coffee granules are going to dissolve and they're going to become brown in color, right? Now, once it becomes brown in color, so initially the light rays from the sun could penetrate the coffee mug. Why? Because the water was clear. But now, since all of this has become brown, it is a darker color. So the light rays, not all of the light rays are going to get through, because there is hindrance of this brown color. And this is exactly what is happening over here as well. When the mud gets stirred up due to the heavy rainfall, less light gets penetrated into the depth of the water, into the depth of the lake bed. So what happens is this, that the rate of photosynthesis is going to drop, because the concentration of the light intensity is falling. So why does the rate of photosynthesis fall? Extra carbon dioxide? No, that does not essentially make any sense, because nothing is really happening to the carbon dioxide. Extra dissolved nitrates? Nothing is happening to the nitrates. The nitrates in the water are going to remain the same. Lower light intensity? Yes, because now the color of the lake has become muddy. It has become brown due to the stirring up of the mud in the lake due to the heavy rainfall. Lower oxygen concentration, the stirring of the mud, the change in the color of the water, that does not essentially affect the oxygen concentration. So the only thing that is happening is that the light intensity is changing, and the light intensity is now lower because of the darker color of the lake. Next, some plants have large leaves and are growing well, but the leaves are turning yellow. What factor is likely to be causing this problem? Now, the green color of the plant comes from chlorophyll. And the essential element that makes chlorophyll is magnesium. So whenever there is a decrease in magnesium, that means that there would be decreased green color, and the plant leaves or the plant essentially is going to turn yellow in color. So the yellowing would be due to a lack of magnesium in the soil. Lack of water, no, that is going to cause the plant to wilt. Not enough sunlight, no, that would not be the answer. Too much nitrates, no, that cannot be the answer as well. Okay, next, which row shows the average daily requirement for the people in the table? Now, what people do we have? We have a 6-year-old, we have a pregnant woman, we have a male manual laborer, and we have a teenage girl. Now, the most amount of calories that would be required are by a male manual laborer. Why? Because the consumption of the calories is the most, considering that the male manual laborer is doing the most of the heavy lifting. So the most amount of calories would be consumed by the male manual laborer. Then we have, out of the pregnant woman, the 6-year-old child and the teenage girl. Then we have the pregnant woman. Why so? Because the pregnant woman is going to be eating food too, because she has to nourish the baby as well. So at second, the second most amount of calories that would be consumed is by the pregnant woman. Then the third is out of the 6-year-old child or the teenage girl. Now, out of these two, the teenage girl is experiencing puberty. That means that she has rapid growth in every aspect of her body, right? So therefore, the third highest amount of calories would be taken in by the teenage girl. And then lastly, we have the 6-year-old child, right? So according to this, the answer would be the maximum energy would be consumed by the male manual laborer. Then these two, then we have the pregnant woman, then we have the teenage girl, then we have the 6-year-old child. So according to this, the answer would be B. Okay, next we have the diagram shows an experiment. After 30 minutes, the tests were carried out on the contents of the membrane bag and on the water, which row shows the result of the test. Now, if you look at this, we have the beaker. The beaker contains water, and this membrane bag, it contains lipase and it contains the cooking oil. Now, the cooking oil essentially is fat, and lipase is an enzyme. Hence, it is a protein, right? Now, they're saying that they're carrying out Biret test on the water, and it is carrying out the Biret test on the contents of the bag. Now, the water is just plain water. It does not contain any sort of protein. Firstly, Biret test is the test that we use for Biret test is the test that we use to see the presence of protein. If protein is present, the color would change to purple, and if protein is not present, the color would remain blue. So water is essentially water only. There is nothing else present, so the color would remain blue only, right? So it cannot be CND. Then when they're carrying out Biret test on the content of the bag, we have a protein present there. We have lipase there, right? So the color would change from blue to purple, right? So essentially we've gotten our answer, but we're going to confirm our answer by looking at the third thing as well, the pH of the water. Now for this, you have to understand that fat is made up of one molecule of glycerol. We have to understand that fat is made up of one molecule of glycerol. This is glycerol, and it has 3 fatty acid chains that are linked to it. They are bonded to it. Now, when lipase comes and it acts on this bond between the fatty acid and the glycerol, and it breaks this bond. Right? So now the fatty acids, they are going to be free, right? Now, because they are free, so this is acid, so it is going to bring the pH down. So where is the pH down? Out of 6 and 5.5, this is the lower pH, right? So this would be the answer. So the answer would be B.